Welcome to Lesson 1 of the Weaving Words Peer Education Project, where students from Framingham Earl High School in Norfolk and Marula School in Botswana help you to improve your creative writing skills. In this lesson, you will need the Weaving Words booklet, a pen and paper on which to make notes. You will have the chance to hear and read the descriptions written by the students in Botswana, Africa.
In 2006, 4 of our teachers went to Botswana to work with students in our link school. We learned a lot by listening and watching the Marula students talking about and reading their descriptive texts. See if you can also learn by watching the DVD and doing the suggested activities in this booklet. Good luck and have fun!
Weaving Words, a GCSE peer education project, successful descriptive writing.
In this DVD, students studying for their GCSEs in Norfolk and in Botswana share their descriptive writing techniques. These are macro
And micro.
Macro reveals a wide-angle overview of the place, creating atmosphere and giving a general impression.
Micro allows you to zoom in on minute details that give focus and quality to your writing.
These are to develop skills of show, not tell.
To use sensory description.
To use a variety of techniques.
To use prepositions.
And to use variety in your sentence structure.
The camera is a really helpful tool to use when writing, because you see the picture then zoom in. Because usually when I write, I just write everything and I end up with this long story which could write a book. So zooming in has really helped me really look into something and describe with emotion and feeling so that people can like my work too. The portal. The sky becomes grey, like a portal to another world, if only I could reach it. At dusk, a cold breeze sweeps through, sending chills down my spine. That's when I feel how warm the big rocks are, remembering the heat of the day. For a moment, there's a deafening silence. It circles around me. Then the tune of crickets and insects begins. The dry leaves start to rustle as the little night crawlers run around on them. From afar, you can see the hilltops, shining with colorful lights. Stars begin to pop out, one by one, and soon, thousands will cover the sky.
The thing I've enjoyed the most about this week is learning new techniques to add into my writing and having an outlet for the writing that I've developed over the years thanks to my teachers and their encouragement. And I think that it's an experience that I'll take away with me and skills that I'm going to be using in the future so that my writing keeps on improving and that hopefully I'll be able to put out a book with the skills I've learned and really put this to good use.
The baobab. With narrow finger-like branches reaching skywards and brushing the heavens, the baobab stands, the most colossal of trees. Present for longer than is known, it radiates infinite wisdom from its gnarled bark and broad trunk. Its branches are knobbly and bent like the arthritic fingers of an old woman. Its broad torso is covered in smooth waxy bark, a melting candle. Running my fingers along the irregular surface, I can feel the experience that has been collected and stored by the tree during its long existence, in which it has silently borne witness to the countless changes that its surroundings have undergone. It alone has remained the same, as though forgotten by time and overlooked by change.
I'll never forget this week. It's been really fun and exciting, and I've learned so many things, especially from Mrs. Kiko. I've also realized what Mrs. Dunlop has been teaching us is actually true, and that I'll actually take this experience in my future, and hopefully I'll be able to use whatever I learned this week in the future.
Perched comfortably upon a massive boulder embedded into the ground, my gaze wanders into the vast ocean of verdant foliage. The sun's rays pierce through the branches, leaving an intricate pattern of shadows dancing eerily upon the ground. A chilling breeze whispers through the leaves. Rustling, they break the silence for only a few seconds before the deafening silence rings in my ears once again. The sea of trees acts as a barrier to nature's fist of fire, slowly withdrawing back into the great bowels of hell, burning the sky furiously as the flames spread rapidly above me. For a while, the world is on fire as the azure blue sky changes to a blend of piercing amber and singed copper smearing into one another. The flames reflect their last rays upon the sea, diffusing them through the tall, naked branches, causing the whole picture to glow vibrantly. As I look around, an oversized giant captures my attention. Its expansive trunk seems to cool like a gigantic, dust-pink wild candle that had been dripping in the heat of those merciless flames. The giant's gnarled branches extend out desperately as it reaches up towards the heavens for redemption. The doors of hell finally close, leaving me plunged in pitch darkness. However, as I look up once more, a large cluster of sparkling diamonds is cast upon the black velvet blanket that covers the sky. As I look down, I see another cluster of glimmering diamonds winking at me from a distance. For a moment, it is as if all the stars are reflected on the ground. But soon I realize I will be returning home to where all the lights shine brightly throughout the whole night.
This week, my goodness, hectic, fun, but yet educational. We got to do, we have written loads and loads of essays, but at the end of the day, it was for a good cause. And as the people has mentioned, we got a different view on various places. Like Ms. Dunlop made us write on the sunset and the bush. I personally don't think I didn't see the bush as something exciting, but now I have a different view on it. If one looked around, one could see the mopane tree for as far as the eye could see, with its bark so dark and its evergreen leaves glistening with the reflected sun rays. A slow, steady breeze came and went after every 5 minutes, like clockwork, and every time it came, the trees would glide in a certain direction, moving to a beat no one else could hear. But rest assured, there were other trees available in that spit of paradise. Examples included the baobab, but one particular baobab tree did tickle my fancy. Why? Who knows? It looked no different from your regular tree. It had bare root-like branches with no leaves, a thick trunk which I can only presume is used as a water storage facility, wrinkled skin which gave me the impression that it was old, and the holes in the trunk which acted as a shelter to various insects.
Well, I think most of all, I've become more confident about my writing, learning more techniques about writing, learning that, when you write a story, you don't really have to tell people what's happening. You need to be able to show people and make them imagine what you see. You know what you see, but you have to describe what you see so that they're able to acknowledge what you also see. It's not many times you get people who are actually interested in culture, and I think this week I've been able to show off my culture, and I feel that to me it was very nice. And the marketplace is not a place I'd think of as it would have so much action and you could actually do a lot with the place. But I think as from the first time Mrs. Dunlop took us there, I think I've learned so much. I've learned to look past things.
For me, this week's been fantastic because, of course, I've also learned so much. But the camera has really helped me to get ideas for expanding that macro-micro lesson, for seeing the picture from a wider point of view and then zooming into the narrow details.
Using the camera for my writing has really helped because I was able to look at pictures from a broader view and zoom into a specific thing. And when we zoomed in, I was able to analyze and describe that specific thing I'm looking at. And by looking at it, I was also able to look deeper into it, past what I see, and picture things that are not there, that maybe could be there.
The whole technique about using the camera is also, it's helped, I think all of us use what Mrs. Dunlop has taught us, the whole macro-micro technique. That's really enhanced our writing skills by writing about the broad picture and then zooming in on the old woman or the oranges or something like that. So the camera has really, really helped us benefit in the macro-micro technique.
I've always enjoyed to read since I was young, and I've been called a nerd so many times, but I've always enjoyed reading, And it's always been a part of my life, and I've always loved to write. And I was beginning to think, I don't know how much more I can learn, but then when this week came, I realized there's still so much more that I need to learn. And I think that by reading, we can it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to write in a lot of different styles, because your mind actually steals ideas while you're reading. And you, like for instance, if you're asked to write informatively, your mind recalls things that you didn't even know you'd have absorbed. And I think that reading, it really enriches you, because you become a whole person, because you get filled with all these ideas that you can use and put forward in your life.
Listen to the following descriptions of Selebi Phikwe market and make notes of the techniques used. Can you spot the micro-macro technique, similes, and sensory imagery?
I'm greeted by the sound of loud music blaring out of taxis that honk their horns impatiently as they go zooming past, eager to pick up new passengers. Bus engines roar to life in preparation for their departure as young men and women try to sell food and scratch cards to the growing queue of impatient passengers. Competing to be heard, women chatter and cluck like hens. Babies wail in protest, and men fill the air with their raucous laughter. The bus next to me belches a thick cloud of noxious grey smoke, filling my nostrils with the pungent stench of diesel. I cough like a hag, my chest almost bursting at the lack of oxygen. When the grey cloud of poison finally releases its vice-like grip on me and I can breathe once again, I raise my head, noticing that I receive several sympathetic looks from passers-by. An elderly woman smiles pitifully at me from behind her honeycomb of brooms, and an old man stacking oranges shakes his head in mirth. My head is forced down once again, but this time it is to hide my sheer mortification. My feet navigate between the remains of sugarcane, peanut shells, crisp packets littering the ground, and plastic bags that have become the wind's playthings. I weave in and out of the crowd of people that swarms past me, some strolling leisurely and some hastily hurrying past so as not to be late. My feet, which have been making their own way up until now, come to an abrupt halt as an obstacle denies them passage. My gaze lands at the feet of an old woman with a weathered, warm face and welcoming smile. She's sitting beneath an old shelter with cracked paintwork and grimy posts that hold it up. She sits on a chair, her wide frame filling her blue blouse, purple skirt, and green apron covered in white flowers. A red and brown headscarf covers her head, keeping her grey hair free of the red sand that the wind is tossing to and fro. She's involved in an animated exchange with the men around her who are busy with their work. One man saws off a heel of a shoe, guiding the saw's razor-sharp teeth back and forth, eating into the cheap plastic heel. Another cuts up a piece of leather with a sharp, thin blade that has already drawn blood from the thumb of his calloused left hand. The old lady's cheerful laughter accompanies the jokes cracked by her younger colleagues. With every smile, her eyes crinkle at the corners and sparkle like diamonds with joy as she enjoys the company of the young men working around her. However, when her smile fades from time to time, her eyes reveal an emotion that strongly contrasts with her happiness. Deep-rooted pain that fills every minute of her existence whenever she leaves this place. This bustling marketplace that fills her with so much joy and is her solace and shelter from her storm-ravaged life.
Well, I was inspired by our trip to the marketplace. There I saw a man there selling his oranges, and something just struck a chord with him, and something intrigued me about him, and that inspired me to write a piece on him. As I entered the marketplace, it was as if I had entered a whole new realm. Everything seemed to live by the law of the jungle. Eat or be eaten. Taxis went by like a swarm of ants. Others rushed off to be the first in line, like a stampeding herd of buffaloes, whilst others nurtured their young, like a lioness protecting her cubs. But there was one particular man that caught my eye. Oranges, very sweet. He filled the air with the sweet aroma of his oranges, while slurping on one himself. As he chewed on his second piece, spurts of juicy nectar shot out of his mouth and onto the ground. He got exactly the reaction he wanted. The others around him approached the stall, wiping the drool off the corners of their mouths. It was fun having a chance to show our culture. It's not every day that people are interested in your culture, so it was very fun to share with the English teachers our cultures and ways.
My eyes came across a peculiar old lady who had completely isolated herself in a deserted place. As her petite body slumped deeply into a chair, she was completely unaware of all the commotion around her. Her lips pursed tightly together as the crevices on the corners of her lips deepened, for her full attention was grasped by her cell phone. Her eyes, which were embedded in an intricate cobweb of creases, squinted seriously into the screen, deep in thought as her gnarled fingers groped the cell phone tightly. Although her fragile skeletal body was before me, her eyes told me that she was somewhere far, far away.
When I saw that lady at the market who was holding the baby, I think if I didn't have Martin there to focus on her, I would have passed and thought, she's just any other woman. But when he focused more onto the details, I could see the emotions. I could see the way she was handling the baby, and it really inspired me more.
Can I just ask how many of you in this group have English as a second language?
English.
Do you all speak? Yeah, English as an additional language. Do you all have a different language that you speak at home?
Yes.
So for second language users, this is the work that you've produced is really outstanding. The students in England, when I show them this, they're going to be very surprised to hear what year you're in. Because of your level of seriousness and your commitment to your work, what exams are you studying for at the moment?
IGCSE.
IGCSE. So what does the I stand for?
International.
So it's a GCSE qualification, pretty much like the students in England are studying for.
Yes.
Requests for your counterparts in England. What would you like to request from my students in England, my students in my Year 10 group?
It's always been my dream for a picture of clear snow scene. So please, if you can do that for me.
So you'd like them to maybe get a bit of video footage?
Or just describe a place where it's been snowing and it's white and clean. Because we never ever get that here. It's Botswana.
Using the senses.
Yes, please.
So that you can really feel as if
All we can describe here is dry, hot, sweaty.
I think I'd also like, because we're a landlocked country, and all we get here is the bush and the bush. We did our description of the sunset in the bush. It would be nice if one of them could just sit at the sea and look out and try to make me feel what it feels like to sit out in the beach and the feelings and the smells and everything. I'd like to.
Yeah, maybe if they can go to their market and use their senses to describe the marketplace and send it to us, and we can see the difference, comparisons between our market and their market. It's probably better, but just want to see it anyway.
Dry, hot, sweaty.
All of the students in this IGCSE class have just received their results and all achieved grade B or above. To consolidate what you have learned today, read pages 1, 2 and 3 from the Weaving Words booklet and complete the activities. For homework, write a short description of the seaside, a snow scene or a marketplace to practice using these techniques.